Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Sherry Horner, your host at healthfitnessbroadcast.com. Today we are talking with the mighty Joe Stankowski from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hey,
Welcome back to the show, Joe
oh, it's
Stankowski.
always a pleasure. Love being here.
You have always been a staple on the show. Many times you've given a fitness tip for the week and shared on different multiple topics. He is an international fitness rater and fitness professional of about 30 years experience.
20 and some change, 22, 23. Maybe I've been doing this.
Oh, okay. Well, I just think you're as old as me, so I'm
I look pretty old,
you're
I
as
know.
old as dirt. So anyway, today we're going to start out talking about eat right, exercise right, and recover right. So, and then I want to talk about some things that you've had to overcome recently with an injury. So, right now you've been in Grand Rapids for many years, but you've been around the country in different areas training multiple people. You said you're working a lot with high school athletes at the
The last
moment.
couple of years, I've been doing a lot of work with a high school girls track team, specifically shot put and discus throwers, which takes me back to my early roots of training.
Yeah,
So it's like a big circle to come back around to that, which is a lot of fun.
yeah, coming full circle. So, what are some tips that you give them as far as one eating right?
For these high school kids, a lot of these girls seem to follow in their mother's footsteps, and they're starting early as far as the yo-yo dieting, the extreme stuff. That let's cut out carbs, let's cut out fats, or let's cut out something. And I try to tell them it's like at their age, they're not 30, 40, 50-year-old soccer moms who have a lifetime of hardcore dieting behind them. So they don't need to feed themselves like that. It's like just treat yourself as an athlete. You need to fuel the machine to perform. And that's what we're looking for first and foremost right now is performance. So don't necessarily restrict carbohydrates or fats or anything else because it's all important. And it's really establishing good habits now at their age, any age. I mean, you can learn habits at any age or relearn habits. But really, it's just let's get back to basics, keep things simple. So that's nutrition habit number one. Keep it simple.
Okay, what about exercise right? Is that sports specific
Uh,
exercises you have them do?
I don't like the term sport specific. I think it's just a big marketing joke right there because people say, here's my shot put sport specific program. So they could sell you one thing and they're going to turn around and take that same program with maybe a couple minor adjustments and sell it to baseball players and call it a baseball specific program. All of us, no matter what sport we do or sports we don't do, we push, we pull, we twist, we bend, we level change. There's nothing else that any of us can do beyond that. Everything we do is a combination or variation of those five basic movement patterns. So to say something is sport specific to me, it kind of misses the boat. The sport specific training we do for shot putters is we throw the shot. Basketball players sport specific, they play basketball. That's where you get into really sport specific type stuff.
Right.
Beyond that, let's learn to be athletes. Let's move well. Let's learn to be able to jump, to crawl, to run, to change directions. That's sport specific. It's movement specific. It's life specific, really.
Mhm. And you have trained multiple different people in different arenas. Now, being a lover of powerlifting yourself, so you've trained in that arena, not only yourself but other people, but multiple aspects. So, what do you find the easiest thing to motivate young female athletes in high school, and what is the most challenging thing?
When the school hired me a couple of years ago, part of the interview process, they had some of the throwers come in because they wanted to get a feel for me. And one of the questions that these girls asked me, these 16, 17-year-old girls, says, how are you going to motivate us? And my answer to that is really, I can't. Nobody else can. It's like motivation is really an internal thing. All I can do as a coach is figure out what motivates you and bring it up once in a while and remind you of it and maybe look at it from a different perspective. Motivation to throw shot or disc or to lose weight or to do anything, it's really got to be an internal thing. Anything else that somebody says, well, yeah, I'm going to motivate you, they might scare you, they might inspire you a little bit. You get the TV, I can't even think of the shows because they're so horrible. The reality shows where they force you to lose weight. That's not motivation. That's fear, or it's, I guess, your 15 minutes of fame that people are going for, but it's not a long-term motivation. So like I told the girls, and I'll tell you now, it's like all I can do is figure out by having conversations with you and getting the experience of a track season and an off season with you and learn what motivates you. I just remind you, hey, here's what you said is important. Here's what you said your values are. Are those values still holding true?
What about team building? Like, how are they with each other? Are they keeping each other accountable and motivated also?
these are teenage high school girls. And as I tell anybody, I don't understand women of any age. Uh, they've got the same kind of issues anybody else has, where really at their age too, they're still learning to communicate with their teammates sometimes, learning how to communicate with me, and as I am with them, because it's a new kind of a new venue for me to take everything I've learned as far as eat right and exercise and recover, and go back to that place where I started as a thrower myself 25, 30-ish years ago, or like that, when I was in high school. God, I'm sounding old. Yeah, so I don't know if I went on my tangent right there, but yeah, yes, we have challenges because they're kids, and sports is a competitive arena. So we're not just competing against our opponents. In track, we're competing for position within the team as well. For example, like to go to regionals here in Michigan, we can only take the top 2 throwers of shot and top 2 throwers of disc. And last year was pretty easy because there was a very well-defined top 2, and it's like they were so far ahead of the next group down, it wasn't any kind of problem. But this year, all the girls have gotten better. They put some time in the off season, so now we're a lot more competitive within our team. So that top group, there's not cat fights, not claws coming out, but it's much more competitive within the team, and feelings get hurt sometimes. And it's really, I don't want to say tricky, but it's an art that I am learning to help girls understand in this environment how a half inch matters, and 4 inches matters, and 12 feet matters when you're talking about throws. And that's also what it comes down to. That's one thing that's so great about track. Compared to back when we first met, I was working with some pageant girls in the East Coast, and pageantry and fitness competitions, bodybuilding, stuff like that is very it's very, very subjective. You have judges' opinions of what they think you look like, or how they think you move, or how they like your posing routine. Track is like, did you throw further than somebody else? Did you jump higher than somebody else? Did you run faster than somebody else? Cut and dry. There's not an opinion involved in that. It is a very cut and dry thing. For some of these kids, especially this generation, I feel old when I say especially this generation, but it seems that younger people have kind of gotten used to participation trophies, and the pat in the back for trying. And I commend everyone for trying. Their efforts are incredible. These girls in the 2 seasons now I've been here have increased leaps and bounds over where we started. But in the competitive environment of track, throws especially, inches matter, fractions of inches matter. And so that's where our troubles, and I don't want to call it drama, it's not teenage drama, but it's a challenge, it's an art, it's a thing that I'm learning along with them too. How do we work best as a team, building up to the point where it really matters? Because we got to peak at the end when it gets like the conference meets and regionals, and now we have
useful information. What about recovery?
Recovery for these athletes, or just recovery in general?
Well, yeah, as athletes or fitness enthusiasts that are on their own fitness mission and need to recover.
I wish I could give credit to whoever come up with this phrase, and I'm going to paraphrase the way that I heard it not too long ago. If you don't include recovery in your training plan, your body will kind of force you to recover. You will break down, you'll have an injury, something will go wrong, you'll start getting sick, things will happen. So you need to really program recovery into your training plan. Especially somebody who's like just gung-ho and ready to get started, whether it's like a New Year's resolution, or it's Monday, or it's the first day of the month. It's like gung-ho, gung-ho, gung-ho. And the next thing it's like, whoa, I'm feeling really run down because I've been working so hard, but never really thought about that other part of the equation. Because we also about eat right and exercise, but there's also and recover. And recover. Because if you don't do that, it's like you could eat great, you could train great, but you're missing that third piece of the equation that's really, really important.
You're so right. Good point. Yeah. A lot of people just dive in, and that's an afterthought, and only when they're forced.
Yeah, absolutely right.
It's a
nice segue. I kind of ended up that way myself here.
What happened to you? How did that happen?
I ruptured my Achilles tendon teaching 10-year-old athletes how to sprint really, really fast, do an explosive start. So we were like kind of like from a dead stop and doing what's called a plyo step, and taking advantage of it, like a stretch reflex that our muscles will have, almost like a trampoline or rubber band. So if you like pull rubber band back real fast and just let it go, we're kind of doing that with our muscles to try to keep it fairly simple here, not at the 10-year-old level, but first 5 or 6 reps I was kind of demonstrating. So I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a 43-year-old guy at the time, and these kids are 9 or 10. I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm not trying to outdo them, but I'm feeling good. And I really didn't warm myself up appropriately. Then I hit that next rep, and there's this big loud, just like a boom, like a big pop. And other coaches were, 20 yards across the
And
court
they
we were on
heard it.
outside, and they're like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
Loud.
"That's my leg. That's my leg. It doesn't work." So yeah, so it was my first real injury. From all the years of powerlifting, football, strongman competition, just training in general. So I've been very fortunate, but just it comes with a thing. It's fitness is very specific, and sometimes us in the industry have to kind of remind themselves of that through things like injury. Because, well, I know how to sprint. It's not part of my regular training. Because I train to be strong, not to be quick. It's my powerlifting roots go deep, and it's like lifting heavy things is what's fun for me. But it's like, yeah, I kind of got a little flashback of my fast self from my football days, and let's see what we can do. And so it's been about 6 months of recovery right now. Doctors say it takes 6 to 12 months to feel normal. I'm back to doing some sprints, but not quite as explosively as I used to. But I'm moving well. I'm kind of getting around again, and just still dealing with swelling and stuff once in a while. But shake it off, move on, right?
Right. And fitness will always be a part of your life, which is really good. So, do you have any tips for those individuals who start out on a fitness plan and get an injury? And if they don't already have fitness in their blood, they may shy away from fitness altogether and never move back on that track again. So,
Um,
do you have a tip for them to move through your recovery and get inspired by fitness again?
if I'm understanding the question correctly, and if I'm not, I'm going to kind of rephrase it slightly in my head here anyway.
Yeah.
I think we all have, fitness in our blood because we move. I mean, we're all built to move. We have the muscles, the bones, the joints. We have the structure and the capacity to move. Whether somebody loves it or not, that's a whole other story right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And it comes down to back to the whole motivation thing. What are your values? Kind of ask yourself, what are your values? Do you value being healthy? Do you value being functional? Do you value being able to clean yourself, feed yourself, take care of yourself? Or are you okay with the idea of somebody else, wiping you when you're in the bathroom, or washing you if you can't do it yourself? And I can't tell somebody what their values are. I can't tell somebody you have to exercise because this, that, and the other if that's not part of their core values anyway. So I guess the tip for that one, can answer your question, is just look into what's important to you. Kind of think about it, reflect. And if you're injured, I had 6 weeks where I couldn't even drive because it was my right leg. I wish if I injure my leg again, rupture my Achilles, it's going to be the left one next time so I can still drive. But just you got to look and see what are your values. And as I was recovering, I took my rehab as if that leg, my right leg, was my job to do whatever I can to get it better. If that meant for those first 6 weeks keeping complete weight off of it, even though I wanted to do stuff with it, the part of the process of healing is recovering. Right. And so I did everything I could to let my right leg recover because that was part of the process. And it sucked. It was driving me nuts. I couldn't do much of anything.
And not pushing the recovery to the point of re-injury.
Yeah, absolutely. Now 6 months into it, there's so much I still want to do. Like I've been squatting now for about 5 or 6 weeks again with some significant load. I mean, I've been, since I was injured pretty much, I've been doing like some single leg work here in my home basement gym. Some relatively lightweight stuff, just keeping the movement going. But now I'm back to where it's, I guess I'll call it respectable weights, squatting. But even though I still feel like I could do a whole lot more, I'm being cautious because I don't want to set myself back 6 months because that doesn't do me any good. Fitness is a lifetime thing, and the ego can get in the way. I'm feeling like I could squat this much. Maybe I should put that much on too because I used to, and it's a recipe for disaster right there. So just train your body, not your ego.
Patience.
You've got all life to lift and to move and to throw and to train. So
definitely, and finding that perfect balance, not being progressive with the recovery.
That's key to fitness. Progression. That's it right there. That's the key word that drives everything that we do in the fitness world. Whether you're stretching, doing yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, Tai Bo, lifting weights or whatever, it's progression. That's the name of the game. That's what gives us something to do, I guess.
Yeah. So Joe has written many articles over the years, been a contributing writer for multiple magazines, Men's Fitness being one, and you've written a whole lot. Where's the best way for people to contact you if they have questions, if they just want to connect?
We're a social media world right now. So I suppose if you go onto Facebook and just find Joe Stankowski, my last name's got 10 letters. Just kind of grab a bunch of them, put a ski at the end, and you'll probably find me.
Okay. I'll put the link to your Facebook page in the description box so they can easily click to it.
Awesome. Yeah. From there. So it's just one of those big Polish names. So, I've got different websites for different programs, stuff I offer, but we're a connected world. Social media makes it pretty easy right now. So just, talk shop, share ideas, take a picture of what you had for lunch and share with everybody who doesn't really care,
Yeah. That's funny.
whatever. But yeah, Facebook's as good a way as any right now.
Yeah, I appreciate all your contributions, but I have one more request. I want you to share your shoe. The reason I ask all the professionals is because I believe your shoe tells a little bit more about your personality. So show me your favorite shoe.
All right.
Tell me why you like
This
it.
one is training specific, and I've got them both right here, but I'm pulling this one from in front of me. I don't even know
Nice.
what brand this is. These Pumas or Converse. I mean, it's an Adidas. There you go. So I've got an Adidas shoe that I've been wearing specifically for squatting since I was probably in my early 20s. So this is about a 20-year-old shoe. And I've had to get some of the shoe goo on the thing a couple times, kind of glue the parts back together. Because if we kind of look in close there, you might see where it's almost like a
You've gotten
chunk
your money's
bitten out
worth.
of it. And they're falling apart. And these shoes are really on their last legs, I guess, to use a leg injury sort of pun in here. But I like these shoes because when I squat, they're not squishy. Like a lot of the newer shoes have a lot of cushion in them.
Mhm.
And I'm not looking like for an Olympic lifting shoe where it has like the heel or almost like the old saddle shoes in the 70s. I'm not looking for that. I just want a shoe that is comfortable. I never tie these. I mean, the way they're kind of laced up right now, if you can see, is the way they go on my foot, is the way they come off.
Okay.
But they don't have squish in them a whole lot because they've been compressed for 20 years. And at my best, I was doing like 650 for 5 reps and stuff like that, as far as squats go. So any compression they've got is long gone. So I know it's almost like pushing it directly into the floor rather than have to have the weight kind of squish me down unpredictably. And then I push back up unpredictably. These shoes are as much a part of my feet as I guess my toenails are. I mean, they're so connected to me when I squat. It's like I feel like it's a second skin.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So yeah, they're at the end of their life. I know. I mean, I got a little piece crumbling off here in my hand right now, even. So I really only wear these now when it's like a significant weight where I have to push something that I know I want to make sure everything is solid. I don't want any questions as far as what's going to happen.
Right. Gotcha.
So these shoes, I don't miss lifts with these shoes. I don't miss reps. So they've come a long way with me. And even once they're retired, I'll probably still hang on to them just because they've been part of me for so long.
Yes. Put them up on a shelf.
I have to get them bronze, right?
Yeah.
Put them next
Oh,
to the
that's
baby
awesome.
shoes.
Well, my shoe for today is Adidas also.
All right.
So it's a bright new minty color. Love it, love it. Very supportive, not too cushiony, but just right. Nice bright spring colors. Love Adidas. That's my shoe for today. Joe Stankowski, thank you again so much
Always a
for
pleasure.
all your great information, and good luck to your team that you're training. And again, I'll have Joe's contact information in the description box. So definitely contact him. He's a great one to pick his brain about multiple fitness topics. So thanks again, Joe.
All
I
right.
look
Sure thing. Anytime.
forward to it. We'll do this again real soon.
You